Hello, welcome to The Route to Success, where we explore leadership, hope, and resiliency through real stories from people who have built something meaningful in the face of uncertainty. Today's conversation is grounded, honest, and deeply human. I'm joined by Toivo Halvorsen, a hospitality and short term rental entrepreneur whose journey has been shaped by economic collapse, reinvention, and the discipline of staying present through uncertainty. Toivo entered entrepreneurship during the Great Recession, navigating risk and instability early in his career. And honestly, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to tell any more of his story because we're going to leave it for him. And so, Toivo, I knew I would do that.
You're
Toivo,
doing
thank you
fine. You're doing
so much for
fine.
being here. I'm so glad you're here to share your story and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so I guess you want me to share a little bit how I ended up here, right? And why am I sitting here anyway, talking to you, talking about hospitality. And I think that's one of the, for me, the uh, I would say greatest moments of my life when I was able to make that decision because I'm not programmed. I am, but I'm not programmed to do what I did, right? I was supposed to follow, in my conditioning, a more structured path. At least so I thought, right? We all have those things where we grow up, for some reason, we have ideas in our heads that we think are the world, that's how it is. And everybody has that. And you think you're doomed to, you have to follow what that regiment, that idea, those ideas that you built in your head or that you grow up with. So I'm facing that, like a lot of people have. Some don't, because they really somehow nail it from the very beginning. They find their sweet spot and they just run with it. But I think for most people, most adults, finding out how to, yeah, how to live and how to get by in this world. And you need money, right? The systems are such, that they require you to have money. Nobody's going back to trying to find a piece of land and farm it. Those days are over. So how do I do that? And what's going to be my thing? Like, so I struggled and asked those questions like many others. But I think I just went way further with it than I thought. So being in New York in 2008 was in a way a second chapter for me because I had been there before. Uh, I I'm a U.S. citizen by birth, and I've been coming here kind of since I was very, very little. So I had lived 1 year in the past in the US. I had been here a lot. I was studying for a year in New York in 2001. Landed like 10 days after 9/11. And I
Mm.
was there for, yeah, I was there for a year. And then I learned to love New York. And I was so sad when I had to go back to Norway to finish my studies. And I kind of regretted it. At the same time, I just had made the decision to finish the studies. So it was tough. But looking back, it was like the head won, right? And I realized that later on, and I had matured a little bit more. I realized it was like the head had won, and the heart felt defeated and depressed in a way that it went down like that. And then it was just so magical. Then, in a way, 7 years later, I found myself again in New York City. Again, it was, should I go back to Norway or not? It was just surreal. And and this time, I chose I chose adventure. And I was like, damn it, I'm just gonna stay here and see what happens. And that was a bigger decision than when I was, in my 20s. I was already 34 at the time, and to say, okay, I'm basically just going to stay here and see what happens. That was for me quite a big decision, but then proved to be really a really great one. And that's how basically I got into a position where I could find, together with my wife, she was the one who actually figured it out, a friend of her was a Korean friend of her was a broker, and she rented an apartment from him, and she tried it out, and she saw there was money in it. So with that I could, but I didn't know at the time when I decided to stay. I didn't know about this. This happened along the way, right? So.
I think you said so many really important things there where you thought with your head, but your heart felt broken. And I think
Mm,
that's important that so often, that was a great metaphor because so often we make that practical, responsible decision, but
mm,
emotionally it can feel like the wrong thing.
mm.
Um, and I love that you give your wife credit.
Oh,
That's
God.
so amazing that you recognize her like that. Um, and I like how you talk about it as a journey that you grew along the way. So I
Mm,
think we're in for a really good story and
mm,
a lot of lessons here.
mm,
Um, and I have to ask, and I know it's not something we agreed on, but compared to Norway, how is life in the US
mm.
culturally?
It's very different in some aspects. It's very different. The U.S. is just, well, it's such a big country. Um, so many people that right away shapes a lot of things of how they are, right? So
Right.
big and so vast, and it's also younger. So
Yes.
there's that. And but for business it's great, the way Americans do business, the way they think business. It's business is Disneyland for business people, I would say. America, it's just awesome. Um for but there's no doubt there are things in, I think, in Europe. So European cities, right, they were built structurally, like designed hundreds of years ago, way
Hmm.
before the automobile. So European cities are structured for living, right? People.
Right.
US cities are structured for business mainly, most of them. Some on the East Coast,
Really?
yeah, you got Boston and you have Philly, New York, but Miami, where I live, the city is designed. It's a very car city, right?
Hmm.
So I can't walk out of my building and walk around neighborhoods and to the butcher and to the cheese store, and I don't have that. I miss that you have in Europe. So this local feel, the life, how things are, people are slower, they're not so ambitious. Like, I'm good, I got some money. Here people are just way more ambitious, and things are just faster and more, and so living, I think, quality a little bit in certain sense is, I say, better in Europe, or I personally miss. But there's many things that the US has. So it's like I've learned to really enjoy both of the positives, and it's really out of my control on most of it. I think so. I just try to do the best with the positive sides, and the negative sides I try not to do so much with.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was fortunate in middle school and high school to live in another country, and I'm
Mm,
grateful for that experience and the perspective that it gave me because
mm.
you're right. In America, it is a go, go, go situation. I was speaking to a friend the other day. In America, we don't value sitting and sitting still,
No,
right? It's
no.
always go, go,
I was
go.
like, that's what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
Nothing, sitting still.
yeah. And I think because of that,
Norway has that too, by the way. It's not that Europe doesn't have that at all, right? But
right. I from as a US citizen, I will say looking at Europe, and this is completely my perspective, I
mm,
feel like you guys get the work-life balance much better and are much more willing to take those breaks and are healthier because in America we're like, "Oh, it's Christmas Day, but you need that done, we'll do it." Kind of a thing. And I think Europe is just a little healthier maybe that way.
but isn't that with the new generation? Isn't that in the US that new? Are they do they work on Christmas Day, the new generation, or I don't know. I hear a lot of talking
Um
about that they're not willing, like the older, to to put up with those. No, I don't
yeah,
know.
no, I would have so I have a 22-year-old daughter and I would say that her generation, looking at her and her friends, I feel like they have better boundaries than my generation,
Right.
and they don't work on holidays. And they'll say, you know what, I've worked, now it's time to rest. And so I feel like this newer generation that's coming up, it's not that they are not ambitious and they don't want success. They very much do. They just have a better understanding of work-life balance again. They have the boundaries and the inner strength to say no, is what I would think,
Mhm.
how I
Yeah.
would say it.
So in a way, like, I mean, I guess it starts there. So they're probably more in line with the policies of most Western European democracies, right? That's
Mhm.
what I'm sensing. That honestly, in this case, Europe, U.S. leads on a lot. You see it, the discussions that's going on, that things here. 1 year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, it all ends up in Europe, either in one shape or form. Like they make their version of it, or they take their version of it and bring it in, whether it's a political issue or a product, whatever it is. But in this case, it's Europe that's kind of triggered California and triggered them to set those. And I think they're kind of that's why it's happening, because the young people are stupid. They know what's going on in Europe. They're like, why can't we
Yeah.
have like that, right?
Yeah. And I love it. I encourage her and her friends. I think they're so much healthier than we are, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Okay, so great conversation. Let's talk about your business.
yeah.
Let's talk about this. So your let me slow down. Your path into hospitality and short-term rentals started almost by accident during the Great Recession. I think we all remember that. I will never forget it. It was my first time I was a CEO. That Great Recession hit. Looking back,
Mm.
what were you searching for at that moment, and how did that shape the leader you became?
Well, that's a really good question. So, before I landed in New York, I had been traveling for a little bit. I've been a lot to the east, India, Japan, Korea. I had been before too, but this time it was more extended stays at like Buddhist temples and all kinds of fun stuff. And I was at the time seriously contemplating to become a monk in Korea, to be honest, or Japan.
Okay.
And but I realized probably wasn't for me. Uh, my deep interest in spirituality remained, but I realized that given the way I'm put together and given everything taken into account, I realized probably becoming a monk wasn't my path. I know quite a few monks who've been monks for 10, 15 years, disrobed, and I so anyway, I decided not to. But point being, as I had done those travels coming into New York, and I was looking for something, and I thought that it could probably a different lifestyle, a way to do things, business of my own or something. I was looking for that direction, and I thought it's easier for me to do that in the U.S. because the U.S. is so much bigger. So, and I knew that I'm never going to be a huge mainstream play. It's just not who I am. I'm just not built for that. But I knew that in the U.S. I can do things and have a nice niche.
Mhm.
There's a world for me to have built a nice niche, and I think that's what Dharma is. It's a nice niche, and that can become a pretty big niche, but it is like uh, things coming together for me that I'm interested in. I love hotels, like I love design, I love travel, I like doing business, and I think this is a fun space, and I like technology. So it's all kind of slowly just brought it all together, and I realized, hey, this is I like doing business. I'm built for that. So this is what I'm doing. It took time, and I took a test. I took an MBA in Vermont in the beginning when I lived here. And during that time, it was great for me because it was a maturing process. I realized, hey, I can have a business, but do it with a mission. Learn a lot about how in the old days, big companies, some of them pharmaceuticals, whatever, they were built on really deep purpose missions to do good to society.
Mhm.
Right? I think people forget that's really what a lot of these are. They are privately run entities designed to provide value and provide uh, um, services and life enhancing goods or services to the people, right? And the way the US have designed this is to have more private sector do that. Okay. Um, but that's by design, and it works well, I think, except for health. It's a disaster there. that's another discussion. But but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, so this is why, you know, we ended up, and I think, uh, putting everything together, it was like, yes, let's go for it. I can do business. I can do it in my way. I can do it in a fair and good way, and be still be a for-profit organization.
So for you, having a socially conscious, mission-driven organization is important. It's not about the profit, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's about the impact.
Yeah, it's just about what, for me, it's pure selfishness in a way. Like, I'm interested in having a business that is run in a certain way, that has certain principles and certain values, and I think other people have too. Okay, let's attract those people
Mhm.
that have similar mindset, because I think that's good for business too.
Yeah.
Does it sometimes differ how we operate? Sometimes. I think it's sometimes there's less patience for certain things, and there's more patience for certain things, maybe, than other businesses, because the focus really is on personal growth. And personal growth is different for everyone. And I tell you, like, there are people that the situations that appear, right, in companies, when you start having
Mhm.
10, 20, 30 people, there are situations that appear. And I think how you deal with those says a lot about, how much those values really mean for you as a business.
Right.
I know that a lot of the things that I have said, we will get past this. We will get over this. This is not is something that a lot of companies would fire for.
So you're about growth and healing and the journey and investing in your staff and creating the ideal environment within your company for people to become their absolute best selves.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're a business, and we're running a business like everyone else. There isn't, uh, uh, I think there isn't, it isn't like we do a ton of extra stuff for personal growth. It's just, it's more how we tackle situations, how we view situations compared to maybe other companies that I believe are more broad, maybe.
Mhm.
We view situations and certain things more broadly, and we maybe view other things less, with less patience. That's based on the values that we have. So, for example, yeah, how people show up, how they act towards others, it's very important to us.
The I really want to highlight this because it wasn't until I hit my 40s that I understood the value of the health of your organization, the organizational culture. And honestly, I mean, we can read research all day long. We spend more time at work than we do with our families, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
so where we are needs to be healthy. It needs to be an environment where we're going to thrive
mm.
because ideally, and this is what I think I'm hearing you say, yes, we have a business. Yes, we have to do things a certain way. Yes, we have to make a profit, but we also want our employees to get something of value back besides just coming to work for a paycheck.
Yeah, and I mean, we think that is the result. The fun thing is, it's a super interesting topic, by the way, because personal growth, right? Growth. What does growth mean, right? Is it a concealed request for more pay, or which it often is when people
Mhm.
talk about growth, right? Because in today's woke world, you're not allowed to say I'm looking for more money. That doesn't sound good, right? Let's face it. It does not sound good if somebody is saying, "I want to make more money," or to a lot of people that doesn't sound good. A lot of people will react on purely on hearing that. They will say, "This guy is only after money," but maybe this guy is awesome. He's just, So this is kind of uh, uh, the point I'm trying to get to is that we 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 don't really know as much as we think we do. So let people try. That's
Right.
sometimes I say, and let try and fail and see. So I sometimes choose people that a lot of people wouldn't choose also, just because I want to, because I like this guy. I want to give this guy a chance. Sometimes that happens.
Mhm. Yeah, I've definitely found in hiring, I always prefer to hire for attitude versus skills, and how trainable is somebody versus what do they already know.
Absolutely.
So, Dharma is your company and it's gone through a couple different versions. And when we previously talked, you said that you were at Dharma 3.0 and it's a turning point. So, you're
Mm,
moving from survival to experimentation to building a truly sustainable business model. What had to change in your thinking or your leadership style to make that shift possible?
mm. Um, Interesting. I think there was no way really that, I mean, it took time. Um, and it needed time because looking back, yeah, looking back, it's like, why did I do that? Or what? But that's how you were at the time. You were not. And I think in a way, what we do is the oldest thing in the world, in a way, right? You have a room for rent.
Mhm.
And that is almost right. It's the oldest business almost they can imagine. But so it's nothing new. It's just that the way that it's being done uh, on a large scale is new, and it took time for the world to mature around that. So yeah, and there's so many in the old days and with the old model, there were so many moving parts that you did not have any control over. The amount of available inventory, the regulatory situation, those two things made it extremely difficult to scale. But in back in those days, we were far from having our own technology and the capability to build that, and we were far from understanding that that's where it's going to be heading. That takes time, but gradually with time and with facing every day in and out of the business, getting all the feedback and traveling and learning, you build the ideas. And we started internally small, building out a lot of the tech that we bought and put together. And then when the pandemic hit, that's when we found the time to do it.
All right. So transitioning to COVID, which I think can be a sore spot
Mm,
for a lot of people. You said COVID was a moment when you genuinely thought the business might not survive, when
mm.
everything felt uncertain and revenue started to drop. How did you decide what was worth saving and what needed to go?
Yeah, that was a kind of a moving target, and it was. But basically, what ended up happening, and it wasn't my decision in a way. It was just what became evident was that where we had good, strong relationships with people, like real relationships with people, the decision makers and owners of the assets, we did really well.
Mhm.
With the owners where we didn't have that, where it was much more of a corporate, um, big corporate play, where the contact person was some assistant director of some region, forget about it. That didn't work out. So that's what that was very interesting. And that's where you see how human relations matter more than money sometimes.
I agree. I think connections is what we are missing in life. And I think those really sometimes difficult, but really good conversations and building those relationships is honestly what makes the world go round more so than money. Because when you know you have a relationship and you can count on somebody, that's when progress is made versus the cold call or let me ask the assistant director and let me see what they get, what answer they get. So I understand what you're saying. It is that all about connection.
Yeah, it really matters. I mean, money is also very important, but in this case, it was so clear that it was the human
Right.
contact, connections, and the relationships. Those were strong, we did well. We saved it. Everything's good. Now, funny enough, a lot of those uh, plus where we had good locations. So we were lucky. We saved the best of the best. The best locations had the best connections. We saved all of those pieces. Plus, we acquired more. So
Mhm.
for us, it was crazy, but the pandemic, I did not think it was going to, but the pandemic proved my kind of my working. I wouldn't say it's even a theory. The way it seems things seem to happen or life seems to play out is, yeah, big problem up here, but it's actually a big opportunity, and we came out and we're better than we've ever been, and with a new version and now technology enabled services. So for us, it's it's crazy to say, but the pandemic was in a way not a bad thing. It was a positive. The outcome was very positive.
I think if I could, what I'm hearing you say is that perspective is a lot of this, because when things got hard, you turned to your relationships and your connections, and you invested in that human side. And
Mm.
because you chose to do that, and because you chose to look for areas of growth, for lack of a better term, or areas where you could sustain, you turned what so many people thought was a negative into a positive by shifting your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we understood that. So Florida had both. It had good inventory and it had positive regulation, right? They didn't shut down more. So here
Mhm.
it was open for business, back to business, and the whole country was flocking to Florida. So it was like boomtown. It was great.
Right, right.
So in a way, funny. We were just going with the flow, right? We went where life was kind of telling us, "Hey, come." In a way, it wasn't shouting out loud, but it was so obvious, like, got to do that. So we just jumped on the train that was flashing. Hey, get on this train. That's how I see it. And because we didn't do, Florida didn't. We didn't build Florida. We didn't open Florida. We didn't make the decisions of the regulations. We All of those things where other people did that. We just, okay, they kind of made it easier for us to do what we did.
Yeah.
And so yeah, turned out very good. And it turned out the bad thing, that was seemingly a bad thing, turned out to be a good thing. And the reason why I hammered this so much, this way of looking at challenge, and when so seemingly bad things happen, it's so important as an entrepreneur and somebody who wants to do business to have that approach. If you
Yes.
if you don't, you're always frustrated and you think that this is happening against you, or this
Mhm.
is wasn't supposed to happen. Those things, if you just deal with whatever comes, and I think it makes your work life a little easier. Doesn't
Mhm.
mean you don't plan, but yeah, it's a slightly different approach also.
No, I understand what you're saying. When you have a plan, but you can pivot and adapt as needed, and
Mm.
instead of looking at things as a failure, you ask, what can I learn from this, and choose to make it a moment of growth, and you take opportunities and risks. That's when you create that positive entrepreneurial
Yeah,
um,
you have to,
environment.
because you're
Exactly.
constantly trying and failing on a mini scale inside the company, right?
Right.
And you go and you listen to, let's say, Jeff Bezos talk about Amazon, right? You know how many launches of things they've done inside Amazon that never made it and that failed? Way more than
Right.
successes, right? So this is, so you need to have that relationship to it more. Uh,
Hmm.
I think because that's what you're doing all the time. You're testing things in reality.
Right.
I have this idea. I think this can solve this problem. Okay, let's build that solution. Okay, did it work like you planned? No, I mean, if that's your life, you're gonna have so many obstacles constantly, and in the end, you have an entity that you're running trying to provide this solution. That takes energy, and so that you're going to constantly, so that's how I try to not, get too carried away. But it's not easy. Sometimes you put so much work into things and you get
Right.
emotionally attached.
And I think that's okay. I think it's just when you can have the perspective to understand that you're on a journey, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
every journey has hills and valleys. And as long as you're positive and look for ways to learn and grow, I would say you're always winning,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so
So,
talking about go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, I totally agree. And as long as you want to be in the game and you're in the game, then hey, that's then all is good.
Exactly. Exactly. So in talking about perspective and
Mm,
challenges, how can you take a challenge and maybe kind of expand on what we said about being a wake up call and versus good or bad? How did you develop that mindset? How did you it
mhm.
and how does it change the way you respond when people or customers leave?
Um, Very good question. The good and bad way to that we we so often view the world. Um, that no, that came purely from my own experience with life and with running the business. It was like just observing each time there was a major hit, right? The kind of hit that just rattles your soul. Basically, it rattles you. It's as an entrepreneur, you get seriously rattled emotionally and mentally. Sometimes you just want to open the whiskey bottle and have a couple of double whiskeys because you're like, "Ah," right
Yeah.
there,
Oh, yes.
right,
Yes. I agree with you entirely. Yes.
yeah. So um it's but observing that over time, when every time that happened, I also observed that, whoa, 3 4 days later the world looked very different. Oh,
Hmm.
not possible. Everything looks so different. Oh, by the way, better now.
Hmm.
And the same thing happened when people leaving. uh I start to be so relaxed about that, and much more like, because if people
Hmm.
leave, because it's time.
Right.
And the other thing is, guess what happens all the time? Better people come. So observing that, it's like, how can you then, so that's the irony of the modern world, where everyone is working towards, oh, you got to retain employees, you got to retain them, so otherwise they leave. Yes, you're right, but there's also another side to that story. There's another side to that coin, is that often because it's time. Period. It's
Correct.
that simple. You don't need to overanalyze it, write a PhD on it. It's just time for them to go. That's why they're leaving.
And I think that you are hitting on so many brilliant points of wisdom here because what you're so clearly talking about is the circular cycle of business and life and understanding if we don't fight it, if we embrace it and we go with it, better is always coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And so observing that happening for real in front of my eyes in my life,
Right.
that was very powerful.
Hmm.
And being open to that, seeing it, like, I guess there's something in me, things I've done in the past, whatever it is, some things I've read, people I've met, conversations I've had, meditations, practices I've done, that allowed me to be open to that way of viewing things, right? Because that you have to be open to that way to view it. If not,
Yes.
then if you're completely close to that and you think that everything that didn't go according to plan is a failure, then you're not ready for that approach.
And I think that's so perfect what you're saying is being able to embrace that, understand the cycle of life and being able to ground yourself in the uncertainty and go with it. But it's only to use a word you use, it takes a certain level of maturity to get there,
Mm.
you
Yeah,
know?
before you're there, then you're not there. You're where you are. It's okay too.
Exactly. Exactly. Now this question I'm really, really interested in. So I'm a huge I wouldn't say I'm a huge like fitness freak or health freak. I truly believe in health and I try to move my body in a healthy way every day. Never been great at yoga, but you recommend yoga as a core tool for leaders, not just for fitness, but for
Mm,
inner strength and energy. And so, and I, this is something that I believe. I believe that in order to be a healthy, productive leader, you have to have some sort of physical movement that you do, right? You have to be physically moving your body every day. You have to be challenging yourself. So I don't want to talk about myself and my beliefs, so I just want to say I agree with you. But I want to understand how this practice has supported you through stress,
Mm,
dis- decision making, and recovery. And this is the key. And it's funny, my daughter and I were just talking about this the other day. So I'm really, really interested in what you're going to say here. What would you say to leaders who think they don't have time for it?
mm. I would like them ask themselves, who is this voice saying they don't have time for it? They have to be very aware of that. That's tricky.
Mhm.
Um, on the spiritual path, or on the path to, let's say, more clarity and more, a path to a deeper spiritual life, ego is going to resist and find all kinds of excuses because it wants to remain in charge, and it will do whatever it can to prevent you from reaching deeper into your spiritual nature. So there is this dilemma. There's this conflict between ego and spiritual search. So one has to be very aware of that. Uh,
Mhm.
that said, you know, it will happen when people are ready. It's not it's not something you can force, and their interest will come when they're ready. That's it's very hard process or thing to sell. It happens when people are ready. Then they find somebody and they start getting involved in something, and but yeah, it's not something that I try to sell hard, or it's a very personal thing, I think.
Okay. Yes, I see what you're saying. It is.
Sorry, maybe I didn't answer your question. What is
No, no, I'm processing what you said. I apologize. You said a lot of very deep things here and I'm processing, so forgive me. You answered that question spot on. And I loved the way you just challenged me because you are so correct. I can't tell you to work out. I mean, I can tell you, right? But I
Mhm.
can't make you. And those things are going to happen when they are ready. So the people who are saying, I don't have time, I don't have time. I loved how you said first it's discernment of where is that voice coming from? Who is it that's telling you you don't have time?
Mhm.
And when you have the self awareness to make that discernment and to understand where that voice is coming from, then you've taken that first step
Mm.
on that spiritual journey of embracing all aspects of health.
Yeah,
And that's not something I can tell you.
right, and it's also at the core of what is a pivotal thing that needs to happen for a person in living in the Western world, especially.
Mhm.
Well, the East and the West are becoming much more the same than they used to be. But for a person living in the Western world, this idea, just as a starter, that they are not their thoughts is for many people, they can't get past it. But you have to. You have
Mhm.
to get past this idea that you are your thoughts,
Mhm.
you are
Mhm.
your emotions, or even you are your body. That the
Mhm.
spiritual journey goes beyond that. It's beyond the body, it's beyond the thinking mind, it's beyond emotion. And so, you know, that's why it's different.
Yes, and what you were saying is just confirming so many things I've been studying and learning about how your thoughts are not accurate. Your thoughts are thrown at you and you have to catch them and you have to think, is this true? If it's not true, you have to change it.
Mm.
You can't let your mind control you.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's definitely a different way to think. But I will tell you, and
Mm.
I always thought maybe it was because of my ADHD, but when I move with purpose and intent, when I make those choices to do what I know is best for me,
Hmm.
I function at a higher level
Mm.
and I can encounter challenges with more resiliency and I can have a more positive perspective than
Mm.
when I choose to lay in bed all day.
Right. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, this has been a conversation. First of all, it's been wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have to think about it a lot because I love the perspectives and the way that you challenged me. I don't even think you realized how
I
much you
didn't know that
challenged
I
me in
challenged
this.
you. Sorry, I didn't
Oh,
know.
don't apologize. Why are you apologizing? This is what conversation between peers is supposed to be. When I say challenge, I mean that in the most respectful, complimentary way possible,
Uh,
because you're pushing me in my thoughts to take further steps forward. And I am very grateful for that. So I think I said it badly to you. So let me rephrase that. Thank you for giving me the wisdom to take things that I've been learning, see
mm.
them in practice, and push them farther. Thank you for that. And I hope that other people get more than I did from this conversation because you have a lot of wisdom to share.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate being here a lot. It was time went so fast.
It did. It was a good conversation. And I have to be honest, it's a conversation that I'm going to be processing and learning and growing from for a long time to come. So thank you for that.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that, and thank you for allowing me to come here.
Yes. Well, I hope that you have an absolutely fabulous day.
You too.
And if there's anything I can ever do to support in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out because I'm eternally grateful for what you just taught me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.